It's another beautiful day here in New Jersey. The skies are blue and we're having another episode with Miss Ellis.
Hey everybody, welcome aboard. Today we are doing chicken fajitas. So as you know, many of the lessons that we've been working on have to do with recipe reading and knife skills. So you can see here that I have my prep. This is my mise en place. Most of it is done, but I wanted to give you a quick demo on how to actually cut these ingredients for this particular recipe. Now this recipe has basic ingredients. We're talking colored peppers. I have a yellow pepper already sliced and an orange pepper. These are sweet peppers, not hot. I have a red onion. Again, you can see half of it is sliced. About 5 cloves of garlic. Cilantro, which is a very herbaceous herb. And then in this bowl, what I have here is my marinated meat. So in this age of coronavirus cooking, a lot of times we need to substitute ingredients depending on what is available in the store. So in this case, this is actually a turkey loin that I bought because they had no chicken breasts. So a loin is one whole long piece of meat. I sliced it into thin pieces and then into strips. And it's been marinating for a couple hours in lime juice, cumin, salt, and pepper.
Miss Ellis, I have a question.
Yes.
I've often heard the purple onions being called Bermuda onions. Is this correct?
Not as far as I know. There are different varieties of onions, yellow onions, Spanish onions, white onions. I don't know that this is called the Bermuda onion. It could be, but I refer to them generally as just red onions.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so speaking of onion, so what I've done so far is I've cut off the root end and the stem end, and you can see that I have sliced these into literal half moon shapes, and I'm going to do the same with the rest of this onion. So it's always important when you're using a knife to secure your cutting board. So I have a towel underneath the cutting board so it doesn't slip around. I noticed that that was a mistake that people make generally pretty frequently. And it's also important that any round vegetables you make a flat surface so that it doesn't roll on the board. So put the flat surface down, grab your knife, fingers around the handle, thumb and forefinger at the top of the blade, guiding fingers curled under. And I'm just going to make thin strips. Keep your guiding fingers curled under, and this is a technique where you can use your knuckles to actually guide the knife and prevent the knife from slipping, and therefore prevent any kind of accident. Now, when you get to a piece like this, right, that can be a little bit problematic to cut. Lay the flat side down, and then just thinly slice it this way. There you go. I'm just going to move that to the side. And now my peppers. I've already cut off the bottom. I'm going to stand the pepper up. Again, no rolling around. Take my knife, and all you have to do is slice down this way. And then this will get discarded. And then take these little pieces, and with the tip of the knife, you're just going to make thin strips. It's a good idea, especially when you're learning how to use a knife. Don't cut this way. Don't move the knife off the board. If you keep the knife on the board, there's less likelihood of injury. So keep the knife on the board. Try to make everything as evenly cut as possible so that everything cooks at the same rate. And this little piece of onion here, I'm just going to discard that. We don't need it. So now I have my garlic. This recipe is very flexible. You can use as much garlic or as little garlic as you like or don't like. You can leave it out completely if you're not a garlic fan. You can substitute any type of onion will work, any type of pepper will work, green pepper, red pepper, yellow pepper. You can add spicy peppers to this too if you like, and just cook them right along with the other peppers. so I'm going to put this over here. Now I'm going to get my pan hot. Whenever you're sauteing, you always want to make sure that the pan is hot before the oil goes in. So that should take about 35 seconds or so, depending on the type, how hot the burner is. And you can see that there's a decent flame under here. If you have an electric stovetop at home, it might take a little bit more time. The key to any type of stovetop cooking is to make sure you moderate your temperature. So you don't want to cook everything hot, because what invariably will happen is the exterior of the item will burn before the interior is cooked. But you always want to start off at a high temperature. I'm going to put my hand above here. I can feel some heat emanating from the surface. Just going to grab my utensil. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon and a half of olive oil in here. Oops. All right, let that oil heat up. Try not to let the oil smoke. Once the oil smokes, it starts to break down. So and then the item can become a little bit more oily or greasy. We want to avoid that. So I'm just going to turn this temperature down a little bit. Now pay attention to all of your senses when you cook. So not only do you want to look at it and smell it, but you also want to listen for it and then of course taste it. So you should hear that sizzle when your item goes in.
Miss Ellis,
Yes.
is there a particular order of which ingredient should go in first to break down?
Very good question, Mrs. Kobler. Yes, there is. The vegetables that take longer to cook go in first. So the onions are going to take longer than the peppers. Now, interestingly, most people will put the garlic in first and then whatever other aromatics, which is what onions are. But I don't like to do that because most of the time the garlic can burn. So I add the garlic in at the end. What we're looking to do here is we're letting the vegetables soften. This should take anywhere from say 5 to 7 minutes altogether. So it's important also to make sure you clean up as you go along. You don't want to have a big mess. You want to keep your surfaces clean. You want to keep your hands clean. Now, in order to facilitate this process, oh, and by the way, this recipe is up on Power School under the Poultry Unit content block. Chicken fajitas. It's a document, not a link, but I know there are other chicken fajita links on Power School too if you feel like, giving this a shot. Alright, so I have my, as I said, this is turkey. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to heat up another saute pan. So you can see that is a non-stick pan. There's quite a lot of chicken here, so I'm going to cook this in batches, which means I'm going to essentially cook half at a time. The reason why you want to do that is because if you add all of this chicken at once to that size pan, the temperature gets reduced really quickly, and then the chicken, instead of getting nice and brown and caramelized, tends to just turn white. If that's ever happened to you at home, chances are your pan was not hot enough, the oil was not hot enough, and you put too much of an ingredient in there. Caramelization is the process, it's a chemical process whereby proteins and sugars in the ingredient actually caramelize and get sort of sweeter, which is what happens definitely with the vegetables. And with the meat, it helps to create sort of a crispy exterior. The scientific term for it, the chemical term for it, is called the Maillard reaction. You can ask Mrs. Neff about that next time you see her. But this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create the Maillard reaction. So I'm going to come over here. And I have my flour tortillas already wrapped up in foil. I'm going to put them in a preheated 200-degree oven, just long enough to allow those flour tortillas to soften up. My extra virgin olive oil. If you don't have olive oil, you can use any other oil you want. Avocado oil, vegetable oil, any kind of oil will work. Butter, however, will not work because butter has a low smoke point, which means it burns at a lower temperature. So I would not use butter. You could use duck fat, you could use bacon fat, you can use any kind of rendered meat fat for this, and it'll be perfect. So about 2 tablespoons of oil. You want this super hot because we want to sear the meat right away. So really let that get hot. All right, so now I'm back over here. My onions are softening up nicely. Now I'm going to add the peppers. This one's going to cut all the way through. Also, one of the very important skills to learn and understand when you're cooking is to season throughout the cooking process. You want to make sure to start the salt and peppering at the beginning, middle, and end of your recipe. This will really allow the flavors to come through, and you wind up seasoning it in a way where the seasoning actually enhances the flavor. Oftentimes people just put salt on an item, an ingredient, whatever, at the end. But essentially all that does is just create sort of a salt slick on the top of your ingredient, whatever it is, your salad or your chicken or your vegetables. It doesn't really do anything to enhance the flavor. So make sure you do season throughout the process.
Ms. Ellis, a question?
Yes.
So with your turkey, you said that you had it put you had prepared it a couple hours prior to actually cooking it.
Right.
What did you prepare it with?
It was a marinade of lime juice, salt, pepper, and cumin, which is a sort of a Mexican spice.
Thank you.
I also, because I like this and this type of recipe is flexible, I added a little chili powder to the meat. That was an optional ingredient. It was not in the recipe, but I know that, I can make these things more flexible. And so I added a little bit more chili. I added chili powder.
And would you ever, somebody like me who likes paprika a lot, would that be something that you could add?
Absolutely. You could add paprika. You could add really any seasoning you like. Hold on a second. You can add any seasoning you like as long as they kind of go together. But what I mean by that is you wouldn't want to add a Mexican seasoning and an Italian seasoning. So you wouldn't go cumin and oregano, for example. But you could go cumin, chili powder, coriander, those kinds of spices really work well together. In an Italian dish, you would do basil, dried parsley, dried oregano, any of that. Also, I feel that fresh herbs are very important to use in recipes, as are dried herbs. But dried herbs you have to cook throughout the process. Fresh herbs you just add in at the end. They're much more delicate and they don't need as much time to cook. But I'll always, you try to use as much fresh herbs as you can. Just going to do a check. I'm going to turn my temperature down a little because I know these are cooking really quick. This is what I want. I'm just going to flip them. So, just to show you, it should look like that. Can you get a good picture of that?
There we go.
All right, nice and brown and beautiful. My Lord reaction right now. And you can really smell everything, you can really hear everything cooking really nice. Once it's done, we'll give it a good taste. So how do we know when chicken breasts or turkey breasts, boneless, are done cooking? Mrs. Colbert, would you happen to know the answer to that?
I actually do not.
All right, well, that's good because I'm going to tell you.
can't wait.
Boneless chicken breast, you can determine doneness for that by taking the largest piece, cutting it open, and if there's no pink left, you're good to go. Chicken with a bone, like a whole roast chicken or chicken breast with bone in, the best way to determine doneness with those cuts of meat is by using an instant read thermometer, which I happen to have right here, I think. $20 on Amazon. Just turn it on. You have the option of Fahrenheit or centigrade, and you just insert it into the biggest, thickest part of the meat. You can use this with beef, pork, chicken, whatever. Stick it in. It will give you the internal temperature immediately. And the optimal internal temperature for poultry items, chicken in particular, not duck though, for chicken is about 160 to 165 internal temperature. So I'm going to grab a plate. These are done. These are so thinly sliced that they don't take very long to cook at all. Maybe 5 minutes altogether, maybe 6 at the most. Bring this oil back up to the hot temperature so that when this goes in, you'll hear the sizzle right away. So that wasn't quite as vigorous as I would like, so I'm going to allow this to heat up a little bit more. Now I'm going to come back over here. The vegetables are softening up very nicely. Hit it with a little bit more salt and pepper. Now you could also add additional seasonings to the vegetables if you like. You could add the same seasonings that were in the marinade. You could add cumin, chili powder, paprika, coriander, anything like that would be perfectly acceptable in this. I'm doing this the very basic way, and a lot of people don't have those spices at home, so don't worry if you don't. If you have them, go for it. Alright, so this is up to temp now. I'm going to put the rest of my chicken in. Now one thing you do need to be careful of, I don't know if you can see in the bottom of the bowl, there's liquid. That is from the lime juice that I use to marinate the chicken. And also, salting things draws out the moisture. So that liquid is a combination of just the lime juice and just the liquid from the meat itself. Point is, when you go to put anything wet into hot oil, it will splatter. So it would be a good idea, you could drain the meat of all that liquid before you start to cook it, just to be on the safe side. And never put anything with exterior moisture in a big pot of hot oil, like deep frying, say, like a zeppoli or something like that. You want to make sure the exterior of whatever it is you're deep frying is dry. Otherwise, that oil will bubble up and, come over the top of the pot, and then everything literally could ignite. So you don't want to do that. So be careful of the exterior of your food. So I'm just going to crank the temperature up here because we're just about done. Turn it the other way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the chicken directly to my vegetables. Now at this point, I'm going to add my cilantro. And when I chopped up the cilantro, I did cut up some of the more tender stems, but any kind of thick stem you would want to remove. I'm just going to stir this around a little bit. If you don't like cilantro, which I know a lot of people don't, if you don't like cilantro, just leave it out. You can substitute parsley for it if you like. Now another way I cook by using my ears is I can hear that this is too hot. I can hear that it's starting to really splatter. So I'm going to turn the temperature down. And you can see I got a nice brown crust again. And I have only maybe 5 or 6 pieces of chicken in there, not that many. I'm going to move this back over here. And I just rinse my hand off. Now I'm going to remove my tortilla because this is ready to go. Nice and hot. The reason why you want to heat these up is just literally to make them a little bit more pliable. That's really the only reason. Also, be careful about cross-contamination. So I wouldn't want to use